I'd like to start off by asking you all to imagine yourself outside on a warm, sunny day. You may be at the beach listening to the rustling of the waves, or by the lake enjoying some shade under a big oak tree. Wherever you may be, a thought pops into your mind, or rather a wish that this day may last a lifetime. However, it is not long until you are greeted by the sobering fact that the beautiful landscape around you is forever bound by the changing of the seasons. And just as the seasons are forever rotating, affecting nature's landscape, so as we continue to grow throughout the seasons of our life. It is within these transitions where our true identity lies. And while it may not always be easy, it is important that you approach these pivotal times with grace and a willingness to adapt. Throughout my years, I have faced considerable challenges that have transformed me in drastic ways. I am so excited to be here with you today to provide a glimpse into my identity by walking you through the seasons of my life. I'd like to start by taking you back to my younger years, a wonderful period where I basked in the warmth of security provided by my loving family and friends, as well as the brightness of my childhood ambitions. My parents divorced when I was very young, but despite that, I never suffered any lack of love or support. There was no shortage of family in my life. And looking back, I feel so blessed to have such a wonderful support system. These early years were also a time of social discovery for me, a time of nurturing strong connections with my friends, some of which I still enjoy to this day. I was also an ambitious child with many passions, passions with fuel to light inside me. At the age of 12, I decided to join a swim team. Originally, it was just for fun. However, within 6 years, I became one of the best in the state. And that sense of accomplishment I felt taught me an invaluable lesson that anything is possible as long as I maintain an unwavering commitment. I was also musically inclined. Throughout my 4 years in high school, I learned how to play the saxophone, the guitar, and the bass clarinet. And while learning to read sheet music and traversing scales may have at the time felt grueling, it enriched my life in so many ways. You may be thinking to yourself, is this guy just going to keep on bragging about himself? Well, I'm sure that we are all aware that the summer of childhood innocence doesn't last forever. There comes a point in all of our lives when the warmth of security throughout childhood begins to cool, and the light of ambition takes a backseat to responsibility. Shortly before I graduated high school, my parents lost their business. This pushed us below the poverty line, forcing me to forego a higher education so I could get a job to help provide for my family. Summer had now turned to fall. And, and entering the workforce at the age of 18 solely with the intent of paying the bills was a chilling reality to come to terms with. I began my first full-time job as a server at Randy's Pizza. It was up to me to do my part because the support system that I had grown to trust was waning. I can't say it was all bad though. The lesson that I learned, such as how to save money or the value of a hard day's work, served as the building blocks of who I am today. And while working as a provider for my family bolstered my character, I was stagnated academically, creatively, and athletically. Throughout my senior year of high school, I would receive several college recruitment letters for my swimming. And each time I read one, my heart would begin to race and that flame inside would ignite, but only to be extinguished by the harrowing reality that my parents could never afford to send me to college. This experience brought my passion for swimming to a grinding halt. I also neglected to find time for my music. Working full time just to pay bills created a vicious cycle that would ultimately suppress my creativity. As I slowly acclimated to this bleak new forecast, I experienced a life changing event, an experience so traumatizing that it would send my life into a stark, and desolate winter. At the age of 21, our family fell victim to an armed home invasion. After returning home one evening, I was greeted by a horrific scene. Dozens of cop cars, an ambulance, and my mom on the front lawn, dripping with blood dripping down her forehead. A police officer approached me and told me that my stepdad had been shot. And this trauma instantly dissolved my sense of physical security, freezing me in fear. I was tasked with taking care of my little brothers, who at the time were very young. This was by far the hardest part. I couldn't let my trauma get in the way of my brother's well-being. But luckily, my stepdad survived. However, he was not able to work for a long time, so the weight of the responsibility only got heavier. And for years to come, I would numb the pain and stress with an unhealthy coping mechanism, drugs. And while drugs gave me an immediate gratification and relief, it only served to exacerbate my trauma. And as my drug problem worsened, the skills that I cultivated in my earlier years completely withered away. As the years went on, my winter felt more like an ice age, my ecosystem cold and devoid of life. And just as I began to accept my dark reality, a savior appeared, a savior who brought warmth and brightness back into my life and helped me cultivate new growth. At the age of 26, the most beautiful woman I have ever met entered into my life. Her, her name is Marley, and she is my sunrise personified. It is thanks to her that finally the bees are buzzing and the blossoms are beginning to bloom once more. She is my new source of warmth. Her, her support has granted me the ability to come to terms with my past and finally face and accept my trauma. Her unconditional love serves as my oasis of comfort and security. It is also her encouragement that has restored the light inside me. At last, my passion shines brightly, and I am ready to grow once more. She is why I'm currently here at Wake Tech, broadening my horizons so I may obtain the lucrative and fulfilling career that I've always wanted. It is for all these reasons that I decided to make her my new life partner. We got married March of this year. Hand in hand, we entered a ceremonious promise to forever move forward and endure the seasons to come. So as I ask myself, who am I really? I can't help but paraphrase a quote from the great Aristotle. I am whole, greater than the sum of my parts. There is no one trait or event that defines who I am. Identity is a dynamic force, one which grows and evolves throughout life. So with that, I will attempt to answer the question at hand. Who am I? I am Michael, a man that wields all his past triumphs and mistakes, a man that will continue to grow and welcome any change that comes my way with grace and courage. I am Michael, the man that stands before you today. It is with this that I encourage all of you to reflect on where you came from and look forward to where you will go. Never allow your mistakes to define who you are. Rather, welcome them with open arms. Just as nature is bound to the changing of the seasons, so are you to seasons of growth. Always remember that you are human and therefore you are infinite. Thank you.